community conversation programs. This year it's a two-part community conversation, and last year's program we were very happy to work with Julius Kolawole on a program that looked at climate change as a social justice issue. And so we're very happy to continue that partnership that we started last year with the African Alliance of Rhode Island on this program that focuses on immigration. Tonight's theme is Rhode Island Immigration Stories, and we're going to hear from three people who immigrated to Rhode Island from three different African countries. And I ask that tonight, as you listen, you keep in mind that tonight's program is looking at listening to personal perspectives, and next Tuesday's conversation will focus on local policy issues. And I'm honored that we have this opportunity to listen and learn about their experiences participating in civic life as immigrants. Our program tonight will be 1 hour, and we'll save time for questions at the end. And to save time so we can hear more from our speakers, I invite you to look at the program on your seats that has a little bit of the background information about our speakers and about our program partners this evening. Also, I ask that you please fill out the very brief survey on your seats, and that will help us plan future programs. I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters Education Fund for their financial support for this program. And now I'll turn things over to Liz Head with the Providence League of Women Voters.
Thank you, Carrie. I want to say that I am going to read this, as I tend to forget what I'm saying. The Providence League of Women Voters is very happy to co-host this series again with Lippitt House Museum. The League is a nonpartisan organization. Voter education, voter registration, and election reform at the local, state, and national levels, and support of legislation such as the John L. Lewis Voting Rights Act is at the heart of the League. We believe the strongest democracy is one in which the voices of all participants are heard. As such, the League is committed to helping new citizens become active in American political life. We also study, develop positions, and advocate on issues impacted by government policy and legislation, including federal immigration laws that provide efficient, expeditious systems for immigrants to enter the United States. For more information about the League and voter information, see the literature on the table in the front hall, which is way at the back. Okay.
On the round table.
Thank you. On the round table, Kathy reminds me. Thank you very much, and I am really looking forward to this program and the speakers.
Great, thank you, Liz. Civic engagement is a part of Lippitt House Museum's mission, inspired by the Lippitt family's long tradition of public service. As a history museum, tonight's topic of immigrant civic engagement is particularly relevant since immigration has always been a part of Rhode Island's history. For example, in 1910, a third of Providence residents were foreign born. In the 21st century, immigrants continue to contribute to Rhode Island's vibrant cultural heritage. So now I will turn the program over to Julius Kolawole with the African Alliance of Rhode Island.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie, and thanks to Lippitt Museum. Thank you, Kathy, and to every one of you who are here this evening. You're gonna hear some stories about us. We've never done this before, so it's the first of its kind, and we're excited that we get to show up in Lippitt Museum to share our stories. To my right is Jacqueline Richards. I'm gonna do my best not to share her story. She has a lot to say, and tonight you're gonna hear about her journey from one country to another, how she landed in Providence or Rhode Island. Next is Barbara. She's newest in Rhode Island. I said newest because I didn't say anything about myself. I've been here, I came to US in 1971. So you can begin to figure out whether I'm still a Nigerian or I'm an American. And you're gonna hear a little bit of my story also. So sit properly, get ready, and we're going to share with you our stories as much as we can tonight. Okay, so I'm gonna call on Jackie to begin. And my first question to Jackie is, what brought you to Rhode Island?
Good evening, everyone. So as Mr. Julius said, my full name is Jacqueline Richards. So I immigrated to this country in 1992 when I was 27 years old. So when I came to America, I settled in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I have a friend who I knew back home, and she would always say to me, you need to get married. I have a husband for you. Since I've known her, she's always doing matchmaking. I'm like, oh, you and your matchmaking. So she was getting married. She lived in Rhode Island, and I came to Rhode Island. And my husband picked me up at the train station. And we just bonded over the weekend, and we talked and talked. I went back to Philadelphia, and we talked and talked. And I called my friend. I'm like, I was with you on the weekend. You never showed me. You never introduced me to the person. And she said, you already met the person. 1 year later, I was married. I'm gonna be honest, moving to Rhode Island was a big adjustment, because if you've lived in Philadelphia, you know it's a big city, and then you move to Rhode Island, it's like, I don't know if I wanna stay here. Well, at that time, my husband was in school, so we couldn't move, and then I have my first son, and I started liking Rhode Island, because the first year I moved to Rhode Island, I remember saying to my husband, wow, you guys only have 3 mothers? In Philadelphia, we have like 6 a day, and so Rhode Island was a safe place to raise kids. So because of that, I stayed in Rhode Island. And also, Rhode Island is small, so you could move from point A to point B without a lot of time. And once I started having kids and they started doing the sports, I have a son who, a younger one also who is in acting. And I went back to school. So I was able to juggle going to school, taking them to their activities, doing my own thing without having to worry about spending 2 hours in traffic. And Rhode Island has a lot of things to offer. Because it's a small state, you're able to build that community in Rhode Island. When we came here, we were in an apartment. We moved to North Providence, which is an Italian town. There's a lot of Italians in North Providence. And I feel safe raising my kids. Even when they will be outside, sometimes I'm inside and I will run outside. And I remember the lady next door to me would say, don't worry, Jackie, I'm looking at them. So she will even sometimes, she never calls me Jackie, she calls me Jackie, that's how she calls me. She will say, oh, Jackie, I have something for the kids. Like she was that grandmother that my kids didn't have. And also when I came to Rhode Island, I did join the Sierra Leone Association, but we were not involved like in civil education, talking about involving in politics. those are things that I learned through my church, through work, because growing up back home, we don't, most Africans will tell you we don't involve in politics. I didn't say I'm originally from Freetown, Sierra Leone, which is in West Africa, and we don't involve in politics. We don't take politics seriously. So I started learning about involving in your community, like going to community meetings, engaging in your school, talking about civil education, educating yourself. I learned a lot about the American history because I didn't grow up here, so I didn't know about the American history. And I started educating myself. And one of the things that I really embraced coming to America was mental health. Because in my culture, mental health is taboo. So when I started learning about mental health, I'm like, wow, this is very interesting. And so I went back to school to become a social worker. So that's one of the things I said, when I go back home, I'm going to start educating people that mental health is not taboo. But then even within my community, within my church, I'm talking about mental health, telling them that it's not taboo, you have to take care of yourself. These mental health has to be taken seriously. And along the way, I met Mr. Julius, become part of the African Alliance with the fresh fruit and vegetables, which I was getting in Philadelphia. When I lived in Philly, we used to go to the farm and get all the fresh fruits and and African greens that we eat. But when I came to Rhode Island, I don't know where to get it. I know I used to go to farmers markets and I used to say to myself, I could get the cucumbers and the tomatoes, but I want some of my potato greens and my and my spinach, and you don't get it here. And later on, I started seeing it, but being involved with the African Alliance, now I'm able to tell my people from Africa that are immigrants here, hey, you want that fresh green? Go to the farmer's market. You could get it at the farmer's market. You want a bitter ball, you could get it at the farmer's market. So people are able to enjoy their cultural food, and it's fresh. It's not frozen, because I used to buy frozen things, but it's fresh. And Rhode Island has a rich history. Rhode Island has beautiful beaches. And so that also reminds me of my country, because Sierra Leone is bordered by the Atlantic Ocean. So I grew up going to the beach. So driving 45 minutes to the beach, I love it. I spent most of my summer in the beach, and I love seafood. So we eat a lot of seafood back home. In Sierra Leone, seafood is a staple food. It's not meat. And so I enjoy having all the seafood. And I was just telling one of the ladies in the audience that one thing I love about Rhode Island is that I could drive to Massachusetts and go have dinner and come back home. I could drive to Cape Cod and go have a good weekend. I could drive to Vermont and enjoy the seafood. I could drive to Maine and go get some fresh lobster and clams and come back. So I have enjoyed my immigration experience. I'm always learning. I'm involved in the civic politics. I work with clients. One of the things I do ask my clients is, are you a registered voter? And if they said no, that's one of the things I do with them. You have to register. You have to know who your congressman is. You have to get involved in your community, because that's how we make change. And one of the things that we should do collectively is talk to people about getting involved in the politics system, because one person can make a difference.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I'd like to take you back to the beginning, if you don't mind. Could you share with us when you landed? Which airport? What was your experience?
Okay, so when I landed at JFK Airport. and it was scary. I mean, it was not my first international travel, but it was scary. I landed and I said to myself, "What are you thinking?" started a new life, but it's fine. It's fine. I've adjusted.
Thank you, thank you. I'm gonna ask you additional question, but you said some things that I think I should quickly respond to. She talked about fresh vegetables. These days, as a retired man, that's what I do. I can see some members of the board of AR are present. Simon Gutiabi, Jay is also here, so I just want to mention a few of the board members who are here. We grow 8 different African vegetables. We specialize in that. We currently have 7 value-added products in the market. We're talking about immigrants in Rhode Island. Okay? All of that began here, is still here, and we're still doing that. So, what does African immigrant means most? It means family and food. Always. Family and food. Jackie found her own food, so she's poor. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like to share with us some of the challenges you went through or you experienced?
So some of the challenges I experienced is some of the questions that that people ask me, like, "Oh, have you seen lions?" Or "You speak good English. Where did you learn English from?" So or some people who like people people so sometimes it's I don't know how to the word I want to use to describe the feeling that that goes through me when people ask me those questions. And when I started having kids, because my mom was not with me, I had my first child. I didn't have my mom. I remember sitting in the bed crying because my mom was not there to help me. I didn't have the help. So those are the challenges. It's just me and my husband. We're first-time parents, and back home you have when you give birth, you have a community that comes, and sometimes you don't even have time to hold your own baby. It's just to feed. But in America, you're juggling between taking care of a baby, taking care of your home, going to work, the maternity leave. In most African countries, you could stay out 6 months or a year when you give birth. But here, after 6 weeks, you have to go back to work, and even the daycare sometimes won't even have an opening. So now you're struggling, like, where should I leave my child? You have to work around your shift. I was blessed because I was part of the Sierra Leone Association. I have a lady who I was able to leave my child with. So those are some of the struggles that you face because you don't have family when you come here in this country. So you don't have that family with you, and it was a challenge for me, but God see me through.
Thank you again. I'm gonna continue to put you on the spot a little bit, and I'm gonna go to Barbara next. One of the areas that I think I like to speak to about your accent. People ask me about mine, and I will tell you what I said after she answered the question. Could you talk about what people say about your accent?
Yes. So people who listen to what you're saying, all they hear is your accent, and then they will try to ask me, "Do you talk French?" I'm like, "No, I don't talk French." And at times I used to say to people, "Could you just listen to what I'm saying and don't listen to my accent?" And "Oh, I don't understand what you're saying. Could you repeat it?" And you have to repeat yourself like 4, 5, 6 times just to one word. Or people try to correct you. you know. I mean, another thing too, because Sierra Leone was colonized by the British, so I do write the British way. And I will give you an example. I remember one time, I was working in a group home, and part of my duties was to cash the monthly check. And I left a note for my supervisor that I cashed the check, but I spelled the check CHEUQE, which is the British way, which is a noun. And then he left a note on with me like, before you write, check your spelling. And it was one of those days that I was not getting it. And I said to him, and I put a note back, and I said to him, my spelling is right, because CHEQE is a noun, which is the way the British said, which is a check. CHECK is an action verb, which is I'm checking on something. So those are some of the challenges. I've been in this country for 30 years. I still spell color COLOUR, because that's the way I grew up spelling it, and some things you don't live like my kids. Like it took me a while my kids to realize, like when my mom said the boot, she means the trunk. Or fish and chips, like when I came here, chips for in America, chips is a chips. For me, chips is French fries. So and for us, we have to switch. Like if I'm talking to my sisters, I have to switch to the British way for them to understand what I'm saying. And it's something that most Americans don't understand. It's like we have to we kind of live in two worlds, because you have to switch to the British way, you have to switch to your culture, you have to switch to the American culture. So and even raising kids, you have to bring your kids up in two cultures, because you want them to be part of the American culture, but you also want to teach them your culture, like where they're from. So that also could be a struggle, because there are certain things in America that I would say, no, I'm an African, you're doing it this way. And they were like, Mom, why? I said, because that's the African culture. So that also could be a struggle for immigrants, and sometimes people don't understand. As a social worker, that's one of the things I do. Like, I remember one time I went to mother and I said to her, you need to have a crib. And the mother looked at me and said, come on now, Jackie, you're from Africa. We don't put our kids in crib, they sleep on the bed. I said, but in America, if you don't put your kid in the crib, you are in trouble. So as an African woman, doing my job sometimes could be difficult, because I have to really explain to them that certain things that we do that is acceptable is not acceptable in this culture.
Thank you. Talking about pronunciations and words, I will share one quick one with everybody. Lived in New York City for many years, and so the muffler on my car broke with a friend. So we drove to a mechanic so he can fix the muffler for us. The British call it a silencer. So we said to the mechanic man, could you fix our silencer for us? You know what? We call the police. Okay? Police show up and say, your hands up. We are wondering why. Okay? So this language issue, anyway, so let's move forward. Let's move forward. Thank you, Jackie. We're going to come back to you, but I think we should hear from Baba. Baba is a professor at Rhode Island College. As I said, she's the newest in Rhode Island, and she has her own journey, her own story. So we're going to begin. Why did you come to US of A?
Thank you, Mr. Julius. This is very interesting, because Jackie started by saying that she came here for a husband. Well, through that, and her very husband even picked her up at the airport. How cool is that? Guess what? Well, don't feel sorry for me. I had just gone through a very horrible divorce, and I was so crushed that my world had come to an end. But you see, God works in mysterious ways, because the same attorney, my ex-husband's attorney, felt so sorry for me. I think, would you want to go to the US and start all over again? because he realized how messed up my life was. Realized the system and everything that I was in, and realized I couldn't do anything again. So he asked me, how can I help? You have kids, how can I help? I said, I wish I would just go somewhere and restart my life all over. Would you like to go to the US? I said, why not? But I don't know anybody there. I don't have family there. I don't have friends. I don't have anybody there. Well, don't worry about that. Guess what? I'm just coming from law school. And if you don't mind, I have some colleagues there. I still have some colleagues there, so I can talk to them and you can put in your application and see how it goes. That's how I got here. So I just put in my application. I remember I applied the first time. I wasn't accepted. I kept applying. I got my admission. Thankfully, when I was coming, I didn't have funding, but I came with faith. So why did I come to the United States? I came here for school. And I came first to West Virginia. And I know you're all thinking, West Virginia, what in the world are you doing in West Virginia? That's the first question everybody asks me. West Virginia, of all the states, why West Virginia? Well, West Virginia had funding at that time. And thankfully, I was able to get that funding. That's the only reason why I was able to go to school at that time. So I went to West Virginia. With my kids, I stayed there for some time. I've lived in West Virginia, well, like Julius said, 1971 since you came here, Jackie, so I'm the newest, of course. So I have been in the United States just about 10 years. This is my 10th year. But I lived in West Virginia about 8 years. So this is my second year in Rhode Island. And so we just moved to West Virginia with my kids. Very different. I know you know that. I don't have to tell you that. Very different with my kids. And I just went to school. I just put my kids to school as well. And it was a good place for me. I know you've heard a lot of things about West Virginia. And I know you know and you've heard. And this is not Virginia, this is West Virginia. It's a different world altogether. But let me tell you something you don't know about West Virginia. The people of West Virginia are very warm, very friendly, very hospitable. We found a family that we did not find back home in Ghana, we found in West Virginia. There is no way we could have lived in West Virginia and achieved whatever we're able to achieve by the grace of God. West Virginia is rural enough. I say it's a good place for school. So there are no distractions. There are no lobsters and other restaurants. West Virginia, we go to Wendy's. That's how West Virginia, we have only Walmart and at most Kroger. We don't have all the international grocery stores that we have here. We don't have all their fancy restaurants and no, you eat mashed potatoes. That's what you eat in West Virginia. That's typical West Virginia. So it was just perfect for us because as a single mother raising two young boys, that was just a place I needed. A place where nobody knew me and I knew nobody. A place where there were no distractions, so I could just concentrate on my school. And so that was a good place for us. I went to school, I had my master's program, I put my kids in school. And again, like I said, West Virginians are so nice than you think. Because people knowing that I was just a single parent, I don't have to ask for help. They reach out for the help. They will reach out. Baba, do you need me to pick your kid up from school? Do you need me to do this for Kenneth? Oh, I could do that. Oh, I have this in my kitchen. I don't need any longer. You can use that. Oh, I have this you could use. It's Christmas. I could take your boys out for shopping. I could get this for you. That is the West Virginia you don't know. That is the West Virginia you don't know. Even when we moved from West Virginia and came to Rhode Island, some of our friends from West Virginia came here with us. No, we are not going to leave you to go by yourself. No. We did not have to hire movers or anything. They held us in our home back home in West Virginia, packed our things, packed everything for us, came here with us, spent 1 week with us, bunked together, made sure we were well settled before they went back to West Virginia. One of my oldest graduated last year in Illinois. they met us in Illinois. We had to rent a big house. All of us spent graduation together, and we all came back. That is a kind of warmth and acceptance that my family and I have experienced here in the United States. And we had a wonderful time in West Virginia, like I said, and by the grace of God, my sons were able to go to school. They finished their high school, went to college. I was able to finish my master's degrees. I was able to get my PhD also in West Virginia. And I talk about all these things to say that I wouldn't have been able to do this back home in my own country, Ghana. Things are different there than here. The opportunities here, this country is a blessing. It is. For some of us, we are immigrants and we see the difference and we are grateful to God for this country. I am here right now. I'm a professor right now at Rhode Island College. I don't think, looking at where I was and how my life had been, I don't think I could have been able to do all that back home in Ghana. But this country has made it possible for people like us to just start all over again from scratch, pick up the pieces and just put things back together again. So after school, the boys were old. They were now in college. Their college was outside of West Virginia. Now remember, I told you there's nothing in West Virginia apart from Walmart and Kroger and Wendy's. Okay, we have Longhorn. So we have Longhorn and we have Texas House. These are our two main restaurants there. If you can't eat mashed potatoes, sorry, you can't eat in West Virginia. So it was time to leave because now I had finished my school. My boys were also in college out of state. I did work there for some time. I worked in West Virginia University Hospital for some time, and I just felt it was just time to move on. And I came to Rhode Island College as a professor. The change was good for us, me and my boys, because for the first time we are seeing diversity. Now West Virginia, I know you know it's not diverse, but it's 99% white. There's no Latinx, there's no in between. The only black people in West Virginia, me and my family, that's all. So that was how it was in West Virginia. But I just want to let you know that not once did we feel left out. And during Thanksgiving, we had to, it was non-negotiable. From the beginning, we had to go to 2-3 Thanksgiving, homes because everybody wanted to have us. And then we had this family that was like, no, we are family. So we don't even have to talk about it. You are coming for Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, those things. We always had family. We didn't have to go through any struggle alone. We didn't have to go through anything. We always had family to interact with. We came here to Rhode Island and we are blessed to have this large African community here. African Alliance of Rhode Island. For the first time, I'm seeing the African restaurants and African grocery stores. I'm seeing a market basket. Even the Walmart here is different because it has international food items. These are things that you don't get in other places, but I think Rhode Island is diverse. It's small enough that you know everyone. At the same time, too, it's big enough that there are a lot of things inside of Rhode Island. And there are a lot of services that you couldn't find in West Virginia that you find here in Rhode Island. I love it here. My sons love it here, and we are thankful to be here.
Thank you. That's a lot. So allow me to take these two ladies back to another topic. It is an experience that, as well, we have yet to talk about it. COVID. I'd like to start with Jackie. Would you like to share with us what were your experiences during COVID?
I worked during COVID because of the nature of my job. I worked during COVID. I think I only have 3 months off, and I have to work. I praise and thank God because I don't know if I have COVID or not. I was never tested positive. My husband was never tested positive. My brother-in-law and his wife and daughter were staying with us and they never tested positive. I know before COVID started, I was sick, my husband was sick, but at that time we didn't even know what COVID was. But I worked during COVID because of the nature of my job. I have to work, and I thank God that I did have to work because I was able to able to tell my clients about resources that was out there in the community, because a lot of people were shut up in their homes and they didn't know what to do. A lot of people were lost. So because I was going into homes, I was able to give people resources. I was able to tell them about programs that were out, because I was able to send out emails. Because I was working, I have access to my email, I have access to the programs. So I thank God that I was able to be a resource for people out there in the community, because there was a lot of resources there that people don't know. Because even now, sometimes when I talk to people and they tell me like how they were struggling, I'm like, what? I'm like, there were resources out there, and I thank God we live in America, and we were able to get the stipends. We were able to get. They were giving. They were putting food. Every kid of school age was getting a voucher, a voucher on their EBT card, so that they would have access to food. But in some countries, people didn't have that. So America is a blessed country, and America do take care of their citizens. And I agree with Baba. Some of the opportunities we have in this country, we don't have it where we come from. And I'm thankful for this country. And I'm also thankful because God puts me in the field where I am, and I'm able to share resources with vulnerable families who are out there.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Baba the same question, but I'd like to ask the question a little differently. Africans like to be 3 inches from each other. Sometimes when we talk, you think we are fighting. So COVID said you should be 6 feet apart. What does that mean? Okay, so I'm going to ask you to kind of talk about that from your own experience. One more point, and one thing I learned during COVID, which I never pay attention to. Okay, it may sound very minute, but for me, it's a lesson. There was this gentleman who read lips, and he said, "Now I put on the mask. I can't read lips. I don't know what they're saying." Yeah. So I mean, anyway, go ahead.
Thank you. You're very right. Well, COVID, I was still in West Virginia, mind you. And West Virginians have this culture where, in Rhode Island, one thing I realized here, people go out a lot. You know, you meet people in coffee shops and let's have coffee, let's have lunch, let's have this. West Virginia, we don't do that. No, come home. West Virginia, you know everybody's home. Everybody comes to your home. I mean, just share a meal, just share coffee. That's what we do in West Virginia. It doesn't have to be a grand meal, just any simple meal, but that is how we are. So you can imagine how, COVID affected that. It means we couldn't see each other again. And restaurants are closed. I mean, we couldn't also have that tea and coffee and all those things. I remember at that time that, so some of our friends that we call family, one was a nurse at that time, and the child couldn't go to school. So my 2 sons had a babysitting job to babysit those kids. It was good for them, but the fact was that I remember that those kids used to be taken care of by their grandparents. And because of COVID, we thought that their grandparents, at their age and, they were vulnerable and all that, so they couldn't. It was sad to see that, and they would come, according to my sons, they would come and stand at the window just to wave at the grandkiddos and just go back. And my kids had that. But for us, it was difficult because it means that we don't have family here, when I mean biological family here. And we can't also see our friends, and we can't go anywhere, and that was difficult for us. We just had to make do with internet, and everything went virtual. I should say, however, that in the midst of the COVID, I think we also found the virtual meetings and the virtual everything, virtual, which I think made us creative. So we found that creative ways. You can this time put your phone or your iPad or whatever, and 24/7 the person is close to you, you are talking and you are doing all that. That, in a way, I think made up for some of the loneliness that we experienced.
Thank you, that's wonderful. We can go on, but I want to slow down and allow questions. Is that right time to do so? I know you have tons of questions. Please ask as many as you can. And there are Africans in the room who may want to chime in on some of their own experiences arriving in United States. I do say to within my friends when we talk, even in classroom environment, what I say to everybody is when I arrive in US, I feel naked because I don't know where I was going. It's just an experience I can't forget. Not as many years as it's been. When you arrive in this country, everything is different. Okay. But questions? They are ready to answer all the questions. Yes, Kathy?
I love what you said about the virtual world. That made me think during this time, do you feel like in the past few years that you were able to be connected to your African family and friends in a new way, given the virtual? Has that changed over this, since the pandemic? Or not?
Well,
Any of you, yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
Not really. We do meet in person, but we still do the virtual.
yeah, I think that for those of us who have family outside, we were already using the virtual, so I think it was just continuation, so nothing much changed for that, yeah. But just that now we have more Zoom, we have more, creative ways.
Well, and even that's just interesting to see you were already Skyping and using that technology in a way where for some of us it was very new. Right.
Any other questions? Yes.
I'm aware in a few different ways of particularly Congolese families coming who are refugees from war and civil war and coming through Dorothy's Place and into Rhode Island without any connections or education. And I think it can be very difficult. I'm so impressed by your experiences, but I know that it's not really typical, or I hope it's typical.
It's very typical.
Well, I saw a documentary someone made about some of these families coming in and the difficulty finding even places for them to live because of everybody's had trouble. And and one teenage girl had gone to Gilbert Stewart School and remarked in the film that it had never been as scary in the Congo during the revolution as it was at Gilbert Stewart School. That's pretty strong.
Very strong. That's very strong, and I can never diminish that. The horrors and the brutality that people go through sometimes, the refugees, the things they go through before they make it into this country. And then when they come, they live with that trauma. It's as if they are constantly being chased. They're always looking at their back, as if someone is still following them. And that, nobody should go through that. There's something, however, that every immigrant goes through, and that is the loneliness. I talk about West Virginians being friendly and all those things, and that is all true. But I will tell you that even in that warmth and everything, loneliness is something that we experience so much. Why is that? Now I've told you about West Virginia. You also have an idea about how West Virginia is. Now, West Virginia, because it's predominantly white, there is nothing for immigrants there. West Virginians don't even understand what immigrants, immigration, these things are. So the moment you mention immigrant or you talk about anything immigration, people look at you like, oh my gosh, that's an undocumented, oh, she's a criminal, an illegal alien. And so that was difficult to even have any conversation with anybody. So yes, you are in the midst of the people. Yes, you are with them. But your challenges are peculiar and unique to you. People don't understand, what you were going through. There is not even one single immigration attorney in West Virginia. Not even one. There is not even one no immigration service in West Virginia. We don't have grocery stores, so we have to travel to another state to buy, the food that we could eat. Mind you, I never ate mashed potato in my country before coming here. And I get here and all I'm being asked to eat is mashed potato. That was difficult for me. My son up to now can't eat mashed potato. Can't eat mac and cheese. So these things, even though we are the people and somebody invites you to the home and everybody's merry and everything, you look at the food and so you realize that you are in your own world. You are in your own world. And sometimes that made it very hard for us. Sometimes you go to their homes, you have to eat halfway before you go, so that when you go and it's something you can't eat, you're not, that kind of. So, yeah, just to say that loneliness we all experience, of course, that is a very high degree you're talking about there. But every immigrant will tell you to a degree in a very different way that loneliness is something that we all experience.
You also talk about education. Like all three of us are blessed because we came from a country where English is a language that we use in school. I work with immigrants from Dorcas, and most of them are from the eastern part region, and most of those people, they don't speak English. So, like I would say to people, that doesn't mean they're not educated. It just means that they don't speak and understand English. And I usually would like to say to people, just think about it. You left your country, you come to a country. Now you just don't have to assimilate to this culture. You also have to learn a different language. You have to rethink everything. So and the way it works is that if I'm speaking Swahili and you talk to me, I first have to think in Swahili and then try to translate in my head Swahili to English. And it's a struggle, and sometimes people don't understand the struggle that immigrants go through, and I usually will say to people, give them time, because now, and then they put them, and I fight for, I have immigrants who, they will say to me, Jackie, because of the accent, they put my child as English as a second language. I'm like, oh no, we're going to the school. We're going to the school. Yes, your child is talking broken English, but your child is not stupid. Because that child might have graduated high school, but they came to this country just to learn English. So a lot of Africans are so afraid to talk to the teachers that are like, okay, I'm standing in that gap. and then sometimes they will say to me, really? You could say that? I said, yes, it's your right to say that. And so when you talk to people, just tell people to think where they're coming from. It's a difficult and it's a lonely experience. I feel lonely too. I remember when I had my first child, I cried because I didn't have that community. I was missing my mom so much. I was calling her. And when I had my second son, it was when the civil war was happening in my country. So I couldn't even reach my family members. So not only was I a new mom, now I'm also thinking about what was happening in my country. So the loneliness was so deep that friends had to check on me because they didn't want me to go into that depression.
Yes, more questions, please. Yes, go ahead.
I'm curious, what the experience is mothers have been come to this country, raising kids with your own values from the countries you're from. Even though it's might be a little bit different as Americans.
Oh my goodness.
I think each one of us will chime in, so
Exactly. Well, I raised my kids. So when I brought my kids here, they were about 14 and 10 or 12 or so. So they had already had some training. So we live in two cultures. Yes, we are in a different cultural environment now, and we try to be law-abiding and do everything. At the same time, too, we still have our things that we do. And not in any way, I remember that when we came here at first, now in Africa, you would see 4 or 5 people in one bedroom, and it was okay, you know?
That's weird.
And so that was our culture. We all had our rooms, but we all still used one room. It was until one day that, we just realized that no, this was not okay. But in our culture, that was okay. But just to say that I am a mom, and I believe in discipline. That has been one of the things that I had to just instill in my sons. And I'm like, okay, we are in this country, and I'm your mom. If you dare, I had to tell my kids that you dare not call the police. Because otherwise, I have the right first before the state. There are a lot of things that we had to agree that as much as we are in this country and want to abide in everything, I think that our culture, we picked some of the good values from our culture, and we came here, we've also picked some of the good ones here, and we have merged them together. But trust me, we've had to do away with a lot of them. You are my kid, you can't talk back to me, and that's non-negotiable. Yes, you have to say please. There are a lot of things. You are 18, you still live in my house. My boys are 24 and 21, and they still live in my house. They are still my boys. And they will live in my house till, whatever. It's not like you are 18, get out of the door, and it doesn't work like that. So, yeah, but I think that's the big thing. Making sure that we still have those cultural values, being respectful to your adults, You just don't call an adult, hey, oh, hey, hi. No, you don't do that in my culture, We still have that respect that we give to adults and things like that. When my kids came here, they struggled with in Ghana, when you had to greet somebody, you had to, salute. And then they knew that you had to, shake, and then you come in, hi. They struggled with that for some time until they realized it's okay to just say hi to an older adult and just pass by without saluting. So things like that. Yes. Sorry.
So my kids were born here. But I still went through the struggles that she went through because there are good things in the culture, like you have to respect adults. Everybody's auntie and uncle because you don't call people by their first name. So it took my husband a while and I not to call people by miss, like people, they said, that's so adult, you don't call them by their first name. But mom, they said I could call them by their first name. So we have to that's something we have to let go. But yeah, I pick things from my culture, like the discipline, in America, you don't spank kids. I'm like, in my culture, when they tell you 10 times not to touch that, the 11th time you get in that spank, But here you can't do it, so you can't do it because you have to abide. But yeah, it's a struggle. Even right now, my kids move out because of work, but they know that their home, my home is their home. Right. We don't as your kids get 18, they're adults. No. First of all, like my kids, I said to them, I'm a Sierra Leonean, you're not an adult until you're 21. 18 years old, no, your brain is still developing. So 21, we could still think about you being an adult. And even now I said to them, I don't care how old you are, I'm an African, you're still my child.
I know we are running out of time, so I'm going to make my 2 comments quick, and I'm going to turn it over to Carrie. If you allow us to take more questions, yes, we are open to it. But in terms of our children, in my household, I tell you what to do. I'm serious about this. You go to school. I'm not asking you. That's the standard. I will tell you what to do. Because the street will treat you, will train you. And that's not allowed in my house. Why? Because you carry my last name. You carry my father's name. That's a responsibility on your shoulder. Okay? It's a value system for us. I'll leave it right there. The other comment I want to make is about the refugees, and I'm glad you brought that up, because this is how we began the community garden in 2010. There are many of them. We open up a community garden, and in the evenings, you can see them there, fellowship, because you can't, in this country or in this state, you can't go to your next door neighbor and ask for half an onion or a tablespoon of salt, they call police on you. So there's that loneliness again. So you find them in the garden in the evening. They sing a little bit, they chat a little bit. But there was something else I should say about them. Despite all the challenges, they grew corn. So the squirrel come to eat the corn. You know what they did? They got water bottles. They cut the bottom and slide it over each kernel. The corn can grow some more, but the squirrel can't get to it. Smart. Smart. Okay? That's how we began our community garden. Today, 15 of them in the farm. We grow, we sell, we have a 6-acre farm. Okay? They are happy. I am happy too. Just want to make those two quick comments. We get together, we talk. I've never been to their country, they've never been to mine, but we are happy. Should I turn it over to you?
Well, we had talked about having, asking each of the speakers to maybe make one suggestion about what everyone in the audience could maybe do, one action to maybe make immigrants feel welcome.
We start with you, Barbara. Go ahead.
Okay, so what I want to just say is, if you leave here today, just be intentional about getting to know somebody who is not from here. Don't just, hi, are you okay? No, just be intentional about really caring if the person is okay or the person needs something. Sometimes it's just someone to just explain and show things around. And I know Rhode Islanders, I don't know, but can we all start inviting people to our homes? That I think would be cool. Just invite someone. Don't invite the person. Don't tell the person to meet you at the coffee for coffee. Let the person come home for a hot cup of tea or coffee. Because you know what? When the person comes home and you take the coffee or whatever, you just don't leave. You hang around. You start talking. You start chit-chatting. You get to know the person. You get to know the person's challenges. You get to understand and know the person's culture. You get to bond. And it goes on and on and on. So if I'm inviting you to my home, you are invited, and we all are. I think together it will be creating a very warm, welcoming, hospitable environment for each and every one of us, and for the immigrants as well. There's so much I'm learning in this country. There's so much I also think that you could also learn from us. But if we are apart and just, there's this invisible wall, I think that's hard. So let's all just open up, just be nice, let's be warm, let's invite people to our homes. I don't think we bite.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What I would say is look for any cultural events that's going on in your community, or even out of your community, and just go attend that event, get to know the culture, try the food. Like, I'm always trying new things, so and get to know the people, because sometimes when you go to those events, you're able to interact with an immigrant and you get to know their story. So, I know that somebody was telling me today that statistics says that people don't leave their little environment, but that's, if we take a point of saying, I'm just attending one event a year that's out of my comfort zone and get to know someone else, then we could all be one big happy family.
So, for me, I think it's already happening. You're all here. That's a delight. We got invited, I met Carrie, I met Kathy. We've been here 2-3 times. Kathy and Carrie invited us. We had a board meeting here. That is exactly what these two ladies are talking about. So it's already happening. Tonight, I can see the Women League of Voters present in the room. We're gonna find ways to build this network, get to know you, and fellowship, share a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, and we share stories. There is part of what I do, and I'm kind of fascinated about it, and that is we don't spend time with our elders because we need to hear their story. Okay? It's not because the elder need to keep that story from us. It's for the next generation to take ownership of their story. My favorite is to say, ask the grandma what song she was humming while cooking. It's very, very important. Okay? It's critical. So I'm delighted. This space has been a home to us. So our thanks to Kathy, our thanks to Carrie, our thanks to every one of you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to our speakers. It was really wonderful, wasn't it? My name is Mary Frances Cooper, and I am with the Providence League of Women Voters. And I just want to thank you all for coming. And I think, you know, when I was listening tonight, one of my big takeaways was something that Julius said, that what's important to immigrants is food and family. Yeah. And we know that family has to be created, and that's part of what our responsibility is when we see the immigrants in our community. But I think it's important to know that family and food that the immigrants bring to us enriches our lives as well, and we have to acknowledge that. So if you haven't registered already, be sure to sign up for next Tuesday's program that continues this conversation. The title next week is Immigration, Belonging, and Civic Participation, Connecting Policy and People. Our speakers are Reverend Chris Abulima with the African Policy Research Institute, Omar Ba from the Refugee Dream Center, and Marcela Betancourt from the Latino Policy Institute. Thanks for joining us, and we hope that I certainly hope that I will see you all next week. I will, right? Right? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Your evaluations, you can do a paper evaluation or QR code if you want, but kindly do